All right, welcome to the Eric Tries Too Hard podcast, episode 80 and change. So today, we have Jack from. Okay, so are you from both bands, or are you just from Byrdman?
Like represent like I'm here with Byrdman. I'm not in Nick's band. I mean, I play live with Mingmingku sometimes, but I'm not.
Oh,
not part of the band.
Okay, and then so Nick is with Mingmingku. Am I saying that right?
Got it.
Sweet. And do you also play in Byrdman?
Yes, I do.
So that's what I love about folk punk and DIY punk in general is that everybody is playing in 80 different bands.
Yeah.
And it's completely normal. I'm trying to remember. Well, we'll get into it and how I know of you guys in a little bit. But when I started listening, who's the one dude? Johnny Hobo guy. What's his name?
Pat.
Pat the Bunny. Yeah. So I must have listened to like 6 of his bands before I was like, oh, that's all the same dude. Like, shit. All right, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So you guys both play in. How would you call it? Folk punk? Would you call it DIY punk? What would you call that?
Well, actually, so Byrdman, I guess, is the most well out of all of my projects.
Yeah.
Our project is the most well known. I think when it started, I started as a side project, and so I was kind of trying to play folk punk music. So the first 2 albums in particular are just very straight kind of folk punk. And then as we kept playing, we kind of switched styles and tried other stuff. So at this point, I just think of it more as indie punk, or like a fusion of that, but still with strong folk punk roots. So I mean, yeah, I think that we're still part of the folk punk scene. We're still very active. So yeah, I guess we consider it folk punk.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a weird. I bring up the term because like I found you guys from the subreddit for folk punk.
Right.
And what's most of the bands that are like put up in there aren't. I mean, the folk influence is relatively slim for a lot of it. Which is why I think it's really interesting how we end up having like all these different like genres that they have the punk base. And then like a few similarities, like we were just joking before we went on the air about like, well, screw quality. Like this episode's perfect for me to be on my crappy computer. You guys talking out of like your DIY like recording setup.
Yeah.
That's really the quality in these, whatever you want to call the genre that all these different like fusions of folk, punk, and indie like come into is the songwriting is valued so much higher than just the general quality of the recordings. And no, why do you, and now see, I've also noticed that like there are like Against Me's been doing this thing where they put out all these like their the pre-production demos, which is just, you know, the somehow even sloppier recorded versions of a lot of their songs. And I actually have a couple of I've had a couple of these whatever like pre-production demos just from when they were leaked when they first came out. And I find myself going back and listening to the, you know, crappier recorded versions of them.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think that is? Is there's a charm to it? Does it make the genre sound better when it's a little bit shitty? Like, what do you guys think that is?
It's funny. I was talking about this the other day, and I think that what it is like, we were talking about lo-fi recording, and people were asking, why do you think people choose to record lo-fi? And I have several lo-fi projects where we intentionally make it sound like shit.
Yeah.
And I think what it is that when I listen to it, that it was recorded by someone like in a bedroom or a garage, and it seems like more true and more honest. Whereas if you have like a lot better production, a lot of times I feel, I mean, I'm not saying I can't listen to anything with high production. I listen to a lot of music, but I think that's the thing about lo-fi music and, you know, DIY music in general. For me, it's that I feel like what I'm listening to is like coming from a very honest place and from a very personal place. I think so. That's what just from the beginning punk music has been like. Is like, this is cool. This is someone else doing what they do by themselves.
Yeah. So okay. So it definitely bleeds into what you're actually writing about with the honesty.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right about that. Which is, oh, nice. All right, sweet. Did we do it, David?
Yeah.
Nice. Can you? Let's see. Are you using headphones or no?
No.
Can you put on headphones and find a way to turn your volume? Actually, I can turn your volume down just a little bit. Sweet. All right, cool. So David is joining us. So David, tell us the name of your band, project, whatever you want to call it.
Gnarly Whales.
Gnarly Whales. I very much like that name a lot. Here, talk again. I want to make sure I get your volume level right.
All right.
Say what? Okay. Say more things. Okay, turn your volume down just a little bit, or sit a little further back from whatever you're speaking into.
Is that all right?
A little lower, a little lower, a little lower, a little lower.
All right.
All right, so this is classic, lack of quality folk punk production, so that's just fine. So David, what we were, so we're here with, we're with Jack and Nick from bands Byrdman and Mingmingku. Am I doing that again?
I'm saying that right. Yeah.
All right, sweet. And David from Gnarly Whales. Now, do you guys know each other vaguely of each other from the subreddit, the Folk-punk subreddit?
I've heard of Gnarly Whales. I listened to the I Can't Get Depression Right. I like that album a lot.
Can you hear them, David?
No, they're kind of hard to hear.
My God. Hey, you guys can. Yeah. By the way, Jack, you guys can turn up even more. We can all just match volume. This is just fine.
Okay, we're gonna do our best.
All right, cool. Start yelling. All right, sweet. Oh, that's really cool. Well, yeah. All right. Well, so David, what we were just talking about before you jumped on was why people choose to record lo-fi, and just analyzing ways of. Oh, I guess some of the theories were like, I think it has a definite certain charm to it. Jack pointed out, or I can't tell. There's no video. I can't tell whether it's who's talking on that end. Was pointing out how if you're going to write songs with a lot of honesty, it makes it kind of rings true to the honesty when it sounds like somebody recording it in a bedroom or a basement somewhere. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. We only record lo-fi because we don't have any money.
And then there's the other side of the coin. It's not artistic. It's just that's just what we have, and that's just what we do. Now, I don't know. I've always come from a school of thought where I try to make it sound as good as possible, but I know that I have a lot of, whenever I do anything myself, I have a lot of weaknesses in my recording and in my playing, that if I just try my very hardest, then it ends up sounding shitty, but unintentionally shitty. Or not unintentionally shitty. It sounds like intentionally shitty, I think. I've had people ask, like, who've listened to my, like acoustic stuff, and they're like, dude, why don't you just throw a little, pitch correction on there? And in my head, I'm like, I think there probably is pitch correction on there. I'm just so bad that pitch correction can't do anything for me. Like, it just doesn't sound like anything. But so you all just record in your own, like, home studio, right? Or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. All right, sweet. Well, I'm gonna try to organize this in order so everybody can kind of talk about their own projects. But I do want to talk about the genre in general. So starting with David, what got you into? We can call it folk punk, we can call it DIY punk, whatever it is. I know that the name kind of changes from thing to thing, but what got you into not just playing this music, but what got you into the genre itself? And if there was a progression, what bands led you to what bands that led you to being a part of this genre?
I'm not really sure. I don't really remember starting to listen to it. I know it was sometime in high school. The first band I really heard was probably Andrew Jackson Jihad. And
what year was that? What year are we talking?
That's like 2007, probably. Okay. Maybe even earlier than that. And
so that was yeah.
Yeah, we didn't start playing in. I didn't start playing in a band until like 2008 or 2009.
All right, so you kind of just like fell right into it. So that's just a band you liked, and then you started playing music, and it kind of fell into the same genre. Why do you think you lean towards? I know I keep qualifying it, but I want to keep saying folk punk just because that's the subreddit we know each other from, and that's the easiest way. But what do you think led you to fall into playing that genre?
Because I couldn't play anything else.
Fucking love it. This is such a perfect. Oh man, I love. Yeah, it's just the necessity. It's like that's what I got to do. That's why on my acoustic stuff, that's why I yell and scream. It's like because I can't really sing. So like, what else is it gonna sound like? All right. All right, how about Nick? What got you into the genre?
I think what got me into folk punk, like, really big, like, my first exposure to really even just a little bit of folk punk was actually, I would always hear stuff that my brother, Jack, was listening to, like, around the house. He would always be listening to music.
What's your age difference?
He's 16, I'm 14.
Huh?
He's 16, I'm 14.
Wait, currently? Or at the time?
Yeah, currently.
Hey,
What? Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. It's kind of one side broke.
Wait, hold on. David, are you in an? Where are you? You in a wind tunnel right now?
I'm at work.
Oh, you're at work. You just okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is fucking. I'm seeing the two sides to this genre. This is perfect. All right. So wait. Jack and Nick, you are 16 and 14?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that why you're not legally allowed to be on webcam?
Well, I don't know. I don't like webcam.
This is no okay. So I don't like to get like jealous, but Jesus Christ, I thought you guys were at least in your 20s. Like, okay, well that your music is really really good. That's insane.
How old is everybody?
They're fucking 16 and 14.
No way.
Goddamn Byrdman can't even vote. That's insane.
Yeah, I started last year, which I started beginning of my freshman years writing music, which means that Nick was in.
I was 13.
You were 13. You were in 7th grade. Yeah. You were in 7th grade when we started.
Yeah, that was my first year in middle school when we started.
We started playing music when Nick was in 7th grade, and we started writing just around that time too.
Yeah.
And at the time, when we were writing that stuff, we weren't very experienced with instruments. So at the beginning and that recording, I was horrible at. I mean, now I'm still not great at producing music. I'm not by no means a great producer where I can get it to sound not tolerable. It's not awful. I was very happy with the way that the most recent record came out. But
yeah, absolutely. It sounds really good. Like it sounds like what it's supposed to sound like, and it sounds like you said, it's not super polished, but that's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I wanted it to kind of have that fuzzy punk because the album as a whole wasn't even completely not true to punk, but it didn't sound completely like a punk album. So I at least wanted something to be there, because it's definitely a huge part of the process, and it's what I'm all about.
Was I correct in hearing a big Waves influence in that record, the new one?
I actually never listened to Waves, but a lot of people, I've heard at least 3 people say it sounds like Waves.
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think. But yeah. I think their take. No, go for it.
Oh, sorry. We listened to it right before we came on the podcast because it was in the related on our Spotify.
Oh, nice.
I wonder. I mean.
Well, what got you? Okay, so what got you guys into? That's crazy how young you are. What got you into this genre? Like what bands?
Well, all right. It was in about. I must have been in 8th grade when I found punk music. I was listening to like Misfits and like classic punk bands because I thought that was super cool and like, oh, this is what punk rock is. No other.
You guys cutting out?
Yeah, I don't hear him anymore.
Yeah. Jag, just start talking once you hear it. But yeah, okay. So, David, that's insane how young they are. How old are you, dude?
26.
Okay, yeah. I'm 20 fucking 9. Like that's insane. All right. That's pretty cool. So what do you do, dude?
Right now I manage a restaurant.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're just popping in and out, telling people what to do?
Yeah, I'm just sitting outside now.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Oh. All right, their computer crashed. They'll be back on in a minute.
Oh no.
Okay, so you got into 2007 Andrew Jackson Jihad. Like, see, that's crazy to me that like people got into the genre from I guess Andrew Jackson Jihad makes sense, but like on the subreddit, I hear so many bands that I had never heard of in a million years, and that got people into it. A lot of Pat the Bunny stuff, and his various projects. Are you a huge fan of those things?
Can you hear me still?
Yeah. Oh, can you not hear me?
Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to ask what your thoughts were on artists like Pat the Bunny, other people who have gotten a lot of people into the genre that would have otherwise not heard about it.
Yeah, I like Pat the Bunny a lot. He's one of the other bands that got me into this music.
Yeah. And how did you hear about that stuff? Just somebody sent you a link one day? Even Andrew Jackson Jihad. Like, I'm just curious how you would have found those bands. They're not.
I used to just troll the internet music blogs.
Yeah.
And download everything.
Yeah. I guess. Oh, yeah. So I guess 2007. Like, where would you visit?
I can't remember. It was like a Flannel and Beards on Blogspot. I can't even remember right now.
It's always fucking Flannel and Beards on blogspot.com. I guess now it's on tumblr.com, but that's close enough. Yeah. All right, sweet. So how often are you playing? And like what kind of shows do you typically play?
We play like 2 or 3 times a month now.
Yeah.
Usually we play if our friends come in town or if there's one of the bigger folk punk bands that come through.
Oh, that's really cool. And what kind of venues you play? Just bars, or do you play clubs? What's
Yeah, they're mostly just bars, small bars.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So what are some of the larger folk punk acts that you've opened up for or played with or whatever?
Well, kind of funny. Our first show we opened for Andrew Jackson Jihad.
Wow. I had a band that opened up for them in 2009, I want to say. But yeah, that was quite many bands and many years ago. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. This was like in 2008. We had just started playing together. I just learned how to play guitar. I'd only played guitar like a month and a half. We wrote a whole bunch of songs, recorded our first record. If you ever heard it, it's terrible. Completely terrible. And then Andrew, the drummer, somehow set up this show where we got to play with Andrew Jackson Jihad. And we played, all of a sudden, our first show, we played in front of like 300 people at some weird collective space. It was really weird. We played with them a couple times. We played with Ramshackle Glory, Mischief Brew, a whole bunch of people I can't remember.
Dude, that's awesome. So do you actually have a scene for the genre where you are? Or is this just like only when the big names come through?
Oh no, there's a scene. We can even have kids come out to just local shows.
Yeah,
Florida's pretty cool. We have like a lot of little scenes all over the place. I kind of live central to everything, so I can just drive anywhere.
That's really good that you actually have a scene of people who will come out. I know I'm right in between Baltimore and DC, but I spend most of the time in Baltimore. And we've got scenes for various genres, but as far as anything folk punk or DIY punk, it's very few and far between. We've had a lot of people from pop punk bands that are big in Baltimore, myself included, start to do more of a acoustic punk type thing, and we're slowly building up a group of artists doing that. But there's definitely no like scene for it. It's just a couple of scattered artists. So that's cool that you guys not only have the bigger names of like folk punk come through that you can open up for, but you have a local scene. So Jack and Nick, do you guys, where you are in DC, Virginia area, do you guys have a scene of people who are into folk punk and DIY punk, or?
So where we are, we're in Northern Virginia, and we're just outside DC, but we consider ourselves like in DC. Like we always say we're from DC if anyone asks.
That's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, but the thing, all right, so we play shows and we get really good turnouts, but a lot of it is because it's weird how freshman released this.
Wait, could you say that? Could you say that one more time? It sounded like you were in the Matrix.
Okay, yeah. I started writing music when I was a freshman, and I released an EP. Yeah, I released an EP that year, and that's it. I released a split with False Idols, and that was all. And so after that, no one cared. Like 100, maybe 100 listens on that entire album ever. The entire year. I kind of left it aside and went to focus on some other band that I was thinking was like, oh, this will be the good band. This will be the one everyone likes.
Keep chasing that dragon.
And so then when I was a sophomore, Nick joined my band, and I was like, I need a drummer. I want to do a full band thing. And so we started writing for album, All My Friends Are Dead. If people interested, I will hang, and if you retweet or favorite and spread the word, you get a song dedicated to you. And so that there's 16 tracks, 16 songs went out to some people, and they were all retweeting it because oh look, my name's on this album. And then people started coming to shows, just my friends. We played an acoustic show behind an elementary school as our first show.
Yeah, in most genres that would be weird. This is completely normal. Yeah,
this is fine. All the time.
And it was cold as hell.
And it was super cold, and I couldn't feel my hands, and it was not good. And so the next show, we played at our friend's house, and there were more people that came just from knowing those people and saying, oh, it was pretty fun. And then so they showed up, and this time people weren't sitting the whole time, and people were, up and they were dancing, which is at least a step, from sitting down. So it was super cool. But the first show was cool at the time too. I mean, having people there is cool. That's always super fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually having.
Yeah, keep going.
Experience for you if you've never had that happen before. It was actually really cool for us because we never had anybody care enough to come out and see us.
Yeah, and so then as this went on, we kept playing shows, and of all of them in high school, it was for a while it was a cool thing to go see this folk punk band play in someone's basement, and so now we have a lot of people come, and now it's really fun, and people are really involved and know the songs, and we have a lot of close friends now that actually care about the music and are more interested in the genre. So I think where we are located, there wasn't a lot of people interested in the first place, but now I think that we've kind of helped bring interest to it, which is super cool. The last people, we pulled 60 people into a basement, and there's moshing, and which has never happened before.
That by the way, that first mosh, when your band gets people to mosh that first time, for real, that's a good feeling. That's an amazing feeling. Dude, that's really awesome that you guys just kind of built it yourselves, and that you were able to actually have that kind of steady band progression. I gotta say, that's very, very rare to have the friends showed up, got into it, then more people started showing up, and then there's a scene. That's extremely rare. Hold on to that as tight as you can. Say what?
At this point, we're just building.
Oh, look at the seat. I have a passport.
Somebody's mom's there. No, sorry, say again, Jack and Nick?
Yeah, I was just saying, at this point, really drawing people anymore, but more trying to find more people that can help get us to a point where people are fully interested, because it's not bad that people show up and aren't into it and come because it's a cool, it was a fun thing to do for on a Friday night.
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest thing that's going to be the hard. Oh, sorry, what?
I also feel, I was just going to say it's at a point now where we feel we just want to keep pushing it and finding more and more people to show up that are going to be into it,
Yeah, and that's what you're going to want to do. The hardest transition is going to end up being when you finish high school, and It's just that's for any band that's gaining that kind of success at that age. That's going to be your hardest thing. So you're going to want to find some way for people to keep, being interested. And because you guys are so young, you still have a lot of options ahead of you if you you can manage to get a good, a good baseline of fans, not just in your hometown, but in, preferably across the East Coast. There seem to be a lot of interest in the genre on the East Coast right now, where you can actually kind of use this to springboard and allow yourself to have a nice baseline of or whatever, fan base, whatever you want to call it, for when you're ready to go tour, whatever you want to do. Like, you got all the fucking time in the world, and you only have space to grow, really. That's just a really good thing.
The thing is for a while I was worried about, this we might have to break up if we go to college and we never see each other. But now I'm not even really worried about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, before your computer,
it does happen.
So before your computer crashed, you guys were telling me about the bands and the music that got you into this genre. So could you list some of those for us?
Yeah. All right. So what happened? The progression went from listening to classic punk bands like the Misfits and the Dead Kennedys and the Descendants. I think those were my three big bands when I was first getting in. And then I was introduced to hardcore punk, and then through hardcore punk found straight edge, which just made sense to me. And so I started following the straight edge scene, and then found out about Paul Baribeau, who is actually a straight edge folk punk artist. And didn't know what folk punk was, didn't know who Paul Baribeau was. Listened to Paul Baribeau, and I immediately loved everything. I know every Paul Baribeau song.
What about it specifically struck you the way other genres hadn't?
It was so. I think what it is, and it doesn't even apply to all folk punk artists, but Paul Baribeau in particular was his. He's such a fantastic songwriter, both lyrically and musically. It's really simple and honest stuff, but it all makes it was. I don't know, something about him struck with me because all the stuff he said I felt like I could relate to.
Yeah.
And so Paul Baribeau got me into that, but I still hadn't explored the genre. And I found a song that he had released called Ghost Mice Says, and listened to that, and I was like, oh, what is this? Found Ghost Mice, found the split with Andrew Jackson Jihad, and that's what kind of broke me into the genre. And I mean, usually it's Andrew Jackson Jihad that does that.
Yeah, that's what. So that seems to be the go-to that everybody ends up having. So I had a weird, I guess, because I'm hearing myself echo pretty bad. It's gone. Okay. I had a weird entry in where I'm a few years older than David. I'm a million years older than you guys, and I got into punk, early 2000s. Dead Kennedys, The Clash, and I guess Anti-Flag were the three first ones that I really listened to on a steady basis. And I remember one night in summer 2002, maybe spring 2002. I was crashing at this house that was essentially just like a punk house, because nobody else was paying attention, and and all sorts of crazy shit went down there. And in the middle of the night, I woke up, and just to hear, I heard something I'd never heard before, completely different, and it was "What We Worked For" by Against Me. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I have no idea. I've never heard anything like it. And then I went online, and this is they were still on No Idea, and the Reinventing Axl Rose hadn't come out yet. They had just released Pints of Guinness as a spoiler track. They didn't have a website. They didn't have lyrics. Yeah, this is stupid early. I saw Against Me for the first time, and I knew maybe 3 lyrics because I couldn't understand what the fuck they were saying, and there was no lyrics anywhere to be found online. And I had to buy to figure out what was being said. I had to buy the records, read the lyrics, and then go to the next show and be able to sing along. But that was the thing, and for the longest time, that was the only thing out there. That was the only game in town. You didn't really have any of these other art. I mean, I'm sure they existed, but without YouTube and without any of this other shit, I'm not gonna find it anytime soon.
Yeah.
People are still using GeoCities and Angel Fire, and if you don't know what that is that's because it's 10,000 internet generations before you.
Yeah, that's the thing that can be frustrating about that, though, is sometimes there's bands that I find one song and you can't find anything else because it's just not there. There's just not nowhere to put it.
Dude, when iTunes came out, or at least when it was like really public in 2004, the amount of records I bought, because I'd spent years searching for these things in CD stores and record shops and just couldn't find them. And then all of a sudden iTunes existed, and it was the greatest thing that had ever happened in my life as far as I was concerned. Like, there's no technological invention greater than actually having music at your fingertips that you can just get. But so David, in your experience, because you're closer to my age, what was your experience transferring, like, as like a punk fan listening to underground music while all of the, internet Napster file sharing stuff was going on? Did you buy records before then, or did you just kind of like come into it with file sharing?
No, my dad he listened to punk rock the whole time I was growing up, so he was always just around.
Yeah, okay, so you didn't even, so that's actually for you. Your dad did all your record digging for you.
Yeah, it was nice.
That is pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I remember I had this mix CD that a couple, like, my friends who listen to punk rock gave me to kind of help me, like, ease my way in. And, like, they literally formed it, like, it started off with, like, like the candy-coated punk, like NoFX, Guttermouth, Casualties. Then it got a little deeper into, like, political punk and had some, I guess, anti-flag problem. Could you consider that, like, the candy version? But it's still, like, a little rougher. And then it would slowly go into, I remember it would, like, bleed into, like, some Dead Kennedys and some of the slightly easier to listen to stuff. I'm sure Leftover Crack was on there, too, and some early Choking Victim. And then eventually it would get down to just straight-up fucking noise, like Nausea. And I guess Crass was probably on there too, but it really was like this, like, cherry-breaking record to get into punk rock. Did any of you guys have anything like that, or was it just punk? It just flipped a switch and there was punk rock in your life?
I think for me it started with Paul Barabo, definitely.
Yeah.
And I remember I honestly I don't know where I found the Misfits, but that was really what, like, broke me, and I actually became, like, I was really fucking annoying about it. Like, I was a really pretentious punk kid. Like, it was really, it was really bad. Like, I
still am.
And after, like, that, I was really, like, closed-minded. Like, I would only listen to, like, Black Flag, the Misfits, and, like, Rancid, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then after I got over that, I started to open up to more of the folk or DIY side of punk, and then I started, again, it was Andrew Jackson Jihad that really broke me into folk punk.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, it was, the progression was kind of, I think what got me into it first was indie music, because I liked indie music before even knowing what DIY was. I had liked bands that were DIY.
Yeah.
And then those guys were related to other bands, and then I found out about this whole genre of punk music and found out, like, so many of these punk genres are misunderstood in a way, because a lot of people just like to put labels on, this is what punk is, nothing else can be punk, it has to be, like, you have to be a bad person and hate the government, and and then I found out about, I think the two genres that really got me into punk music, or at least now, the ones I still cling on to, are folk punk and emo music.
Dude, what's so interesting is that I found, so heavy into punk forever, but I definitely took a nice break from, I never took a break from playing music, but I was in a band the end of high school through college, and in those 5 years, we ended up touring a bunch. We ended up basically sacrificing everything else in our lives. We graduated somehow, but other than that, like, we sacrificed everything else in our lives to, like, try to make this band work, and it just completely fell to pieces. Like, we kind of realized it wasn't going where we needed it to, and at that point, I was so bummed out from trying so hard for so many years that, like, I probably took from age 22 to 25. I was just like, I just want to play an instrument in a band and not think. I don't want to book another show. I don't want to promote another record. I don't want to write another fucking note. I just want to play an instrument and have fun for the first time in a while. And then when I came back into playing like music seriously after about 3 or 4 years, I noticed a huge change in the landscape of alternative music culture, in that punk as we knew it seemed to just not exist anymore. It was, and I don't know if that was, I mean, I have all sorts of theories about, like, punk tends to get very popular after certain tragedies or horrible presidents. So when you have 9/11 and George Bush, of course political punk bands are going to get gigantic for like 6 or 7 years. But now we kind of, not only did it seem like there weren't that many punk bands, but there wasn't much punk culture. Like, kids who were listening to, like, the punk bands I listened to were still, like, homophobic or racist or ignorant or whatever it was. It did not seem like the culture of punk that I remembered. So it's interesting hearing you talk about, like, what it means to be punk, and it's like, it makes me actually pretty happy that, like, there's still debates about what punk means, because it means something. It's not just completely dead.
I think that's another thing is, like, I always have, like, ever since I started, thinking about it, punk is much more than a genre. It's definitely more of it. I think it has a lot more to do about attitude and how you go about doing things. I think anything can be punk rock. Doesn't matter your sound or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way to think about it. And so I'm going to ask David a question, but real quick, any of you guys don't worry about if I'm asking a question or not. Feel free to just jump right in. I know this is kind of like a weird, awkward format, but you'll get used to it, and you just feel free to jump right in. But David, I wanted to know, did you experience any kind of cultural shift through the years of being into punk rock?
Not really. I lived in a small town, so I didn't really know any other punks.
Yeah.
I only had one friend who was a punk until I grew up and could go out and do shit.
So you've experienced a lot just internally. It's just kind of like, yeah. That's interesting. That's really cool. I always find myself, like, as my life changes and as my experiences change and as the things I learn change, like, I definitely hold on to the same extremely radical punk beliefs I've had, but I pick my battles a lot more now. Like, I'm not as ready to start an argument with somebody or really just, like, call people out on shit, because at the end of the day, I also think, I'm like, what is this really accomplishing? But, like, a lot of those things that I grew up believing and learning through punk that everyone always said, oh, when you're older, you won't think that way, or when you're older, you'll whatever. None of that actually changed. Turns out I was right the whole goddamn time. And, like, not me, but punk rock was right the entire time. But it's just like, I don't know, I get fascinated watching people in punk culture experience changes in life and changes in the genre, and it sounds like, I don't know what it sounds like. I'm rambling. It's all good, though. It's a podcast. Nobody expects perfection. It's probably why I like doing this.
Yeah, what was really appealing to me at first about punk rock was the actual defiance, how just, like, they would just like, I thought it was so badass that there was just blatant defiance in it, and it was just, like, people speaking out against something so loud and so blatant, and it was so badass to me that I just loved it so much at the time.
I always felt like it was always tough trying to, like, promote the views that I had. I remember trying to be into punk rock, like, during the flag waving post 9/11 era was not a fun experience. But every time I'd actually go to, a local show on the weekend, or like every month or so when, like, one of the bigger punk bands would come in, I don't know, it was just this recharge of energy, seeing, like, no, there's all these other people here who are fighting for the same things I'm fighting for. So it's just really nice to know that, like, oh, this is something a lot bigger than me. This is bigger than my struggle. This is bigger than my experience. This is like a movement, which I really, really love that about punk rock. So have any of you? Okay, so this is something that hopefully none of you guys have had to deal with, but I remember a lot of the most pretentious punks that I grew up with ended up like getting really into crust punk. That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
They all moved into the city. For me, that was Baltimore. And then they were all very much about, no, you can't give any money to the government. You have to live your lifestyle like you're not giving your money to any corporation, any of this, any of that. And I always thought that was very admirable. I was like, man, look at all these sacrifices these people are making so that they don't contribute to a system they disagree with. But it turned out they were all just heroin addicts, and they lived like junkies because they were junkies. And it just worked out that their lifestyle they couldn't afford to, they had to pay for their drug habit. They couldn't afford to pay any money to any, or hold jobs or anything. And it felt like at the time, it's like the only time punk rock like lifestyle like works out is if you're making money off of punk rock by being in a band. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like the hypocrisies on that?
Yeah. The thing about crust punks that I thought is always like, I understand that they're trying to make a point, and don't give your money to the government, and that's you're contributing to capitalism. But at the same time, they're also leading. I've always thought it doesn't make sense to lead your life in a manner that you can't contribute to the downfall of capitalism if that's really what you're going for. I mean, I don't know. I do. I think I have nothing against crust punks or the lifestyle. I just don't. I don't think I get it. I don't think that I see the same way they do. I don't.
Yeah.
I just can't. Yeah.
David, are you having a polka show at your restaurant?
I have no idea what this is. This is great, though.
What's going on over there?
Entertainment.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that like different brands of punk rock come from, they may have different attitudes, and the crust punk thing like is definitely very admirable in theory, but it sounds like you're kind of coming from the end of SLC punk like of moral, which is I'd rather contribute to fixing a system that I think is broken than just sitting out and watching it from afar and just being like, I'm not a part of it. Because that's true. If you want to look at it like that's like the difference between it's burying your head in the sand and protesting something. And I think the punk rock way would be to protest it. It wouldn't be to just avoid it. David, do you have any political punk affiliations? Or because I'm trying to get a good read on you, and I'm having trouble because it very much sounds like. You know what? I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Do you have any strong political beliefs? Do you like what kind of punk lifestyle, if that's something that you even want to classify it as, are you a part of?
I'm not really part of anything. I mean, I have a job. I got kids and stuff. I go home every night. I don't do anything really punk rock, I guess. I don't really care too much about politics. I think most of the stuff that goes on is really stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever written a political song in any way.
Yeah. Did you ever care about politics and just got burnt out? Because that's kind of what happened to me.
No, I just never cared. I always thought they were pointless.
So
all of it.
So I'm trying to do you ever classify yourself as a nihilist in some ways? I'm just trying to get a vibe on you as a person, not necessarily to pigeonhole you or anything.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit nihilistic.
Just kind of go with the flow. Oh, you have kids. How many kids you got?
I have 3 kids actually.
Damn. So you are we have a lot in common. I have 1 kid, but not 3. How do you live? Like I can't imagine having more than one of those fuckers.
I don't know. Me and my wife drink a lot of whiskey. That seems to help.
That works.
Now, I have my oldest boy is 10 years old, so if you do the math.
Wow, so you're 16. Yeah. So you were Jack's age. Jack, how many kids you got?
Yeah. None. Not now.
Not now.
Not even thinking about that.
Jack, the baby on the way counts. If a girl asks you, you got to tell her the baby on the way counts.
The twins.
The twins? Oh, wow. Yeah.
I would not have twins.
Yeah, geez, that's what me and my wife were terrified about. Okay, so David, so your oldest is 10. So can you do you mind taking us through that? Like, what was your life like at that point?
When I was 16?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did a lot of drugs and stuff in high school. Drank a lot. It's kind of crazy times. I don't really remember being there. I did somehow graduate in the top 10.
Oh my god, that's
And,
that's a punk rock story if I've ever heard one.
yeah, and I met this girl. She lied to me about how that stuff works, and I had a baby.
Wow. Jeez.
And I kind of just hated everything since then.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so then tell me your family dynamic. How many kids do you live with? Like, what's the deal?
I have 3 of them. The oldest one I just recently got custody of because his mom was doing hardcore drugs.
Jeez.
It wasn't. He's autistic. He's a little different. You can't really tell he's autistic though.
Oh, okay.
And then my wife had a child before we met, and I adopted him from his dad because his dad's a drug-using scumbag too. And then me and my wife had a little baby. She's just turned 1.5.
Oh, nice! Congrats. That's awesome. So Jack and Nick.
Yeah.
You're staring at a couple of possible futures here.
Yes. Right.
The trick is, I guess, stay virgins and just tour your whole life. Is that the moral of the story?
That's the best thing you guys can do. It's kind of funny. One of you guys is 14, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Wow. I don't need my 10-year-old has no interest in music.
Dude, not sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Is that the?
Yeah, dude, don't do that.
Okay, so Jack, are you your parents aren't gonna watch this, are they?
No.
I don't think so.
They're big. By the way, big. The big fans of the podcast. Your parents, big fans. Are you still straight edge?
Yes.
Okay, and how about Nick?
Oh no, I'm
Nick's
not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so the younger one is running wild.
Yeah,
A
a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of? Well, you're in high school. Gives a shit. What kind of stuff you doing? Just the little the Elks.
Huh?
Little the Elks. Little the.
No, man.
No Elks. Just the legal in DC stuff.
Well, I don't. It's not even legal where I live.
Just crystal meth. Just the
Yeah,
crystal.
exactly.
Okay, yeah, going. Yeah. That's sweet. After practice, you just start cooking up some crystal. All right, gotcha. Yeah. So are you guys? So actually, David, did you ever tour or anything?
No.
Because you guys sound
We
like
did a band
goddamn
for-
local legends. Like I'm just curious.
We kind of are around Florida. I mean, we went on little tours, but we never really left Florida before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to plan something for winter time.
Nice.
Go out. I want to go up the East Coast or go out west. I haven't decided yet.
Fuck the West. Everything's too far apart. It's insane. Trust me. Like the East Coast, you can hit up city after city and with reasonable drives. And I mean, I think I've told you this before. If you need anything in Baltimore, let me know. That's an easy setup.
I think we have a couple friends who've helped out from Baltimore. Robbie.
Robbie.
Right?
Nope, no clue. Sorry.
He's from Baltimore.
Yeah.
Folk-punk kid.
Well, that's the other thing is I'm not connected at all. I haven't been connected in the straight up punk scene since like the mid 2000s. Like it's been almost 10 years since I was really like I know the guy. There's a place called the Sidebar, which is this like legendary place that a friend of mine actually bought from the owner as the owner was kind of like on his deathbed kind of thing. And that's like he's basically my connection into like the punk world. Because I've been playing in a pop punk band for the last like 3 years, and before then I basically told music to go fuck itself. But like so it's been a while. But that's really cool that like I bet me and that dude are probably Facebook friends just from like knowing people who know each other. But yeah, no, that's really cool that you have. Where did you play when you came up here?
I haven't came up there.
Oh, you haven't yet. You're talking to a guy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, he's come down here a lot.
Oh,
We
okay.
help out pretty much everybody who comes through, so.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, Jack and Nick, you guys didn't hear. Dude, his band has opened up for pretty much every popular big band on the folk punk subreddit. Like they're that band that you always want to be. Where when the big people in your genre come through, you want to be the person that gets called up to open that show.
Yeah. I've been really jealous of people like that. My good friend Matt from False Idols, he's based in Chicago. He played with Pat the Bunny and Ghost Mice, both of them at the same time. Same
Oh,
show.
nice. Yeah.
Was like.
Yeah, we played with them on that tour too.
You were on that tour?
No, we weren't on the tour. When they stopped in Florida, we played with them.
Oh, okay, I see.
We played with them twice in a row, I think, if I remember right. I don't know. We always play with Ghost Mice.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's really cool. I feel like such a fucking old asshole in that subreddit. Well, not anymore, but like I had never heard of any of these bands. I'd opened up for Andrew Jackson Jihad many, many years ago, and my one like hipster credit in punk is getting into Against Me when they were playing like basements and shit. But other than that, like all these bands like just got thrown at me, which is really cool. And I'm glad that I've actually, especially, it's actually funny how this worked out. I gave that open invitation on the sub for people to join on this episode. But the fact that you guys, including Mocking-Poo, what is it? Mingmingku? What is it? Fuck. Mingmingku.
I like
Mingmingku.
Yeah, but the three of Byrdman, Mingmingku, and Gnarly Whales, those are my three favorite of the smaller artists that I've found through that subreddit. So the fact that all three of you are here is really cool. So again, thank you for coming on. I'm not wrapping up or anything, but yeah, thank you for coming on. So as far as let's see, I'm trying to think. I had a whole list of questions, but that's on the different computer. No, as far as I've noticed that, I might want to look it up just before I say it, but who gives a shit? You guys, like, in this genre, people put out a lot more music than in other genres, I found. Like, people will throw a lot of music, like, why do you guys think that is?
Because I think it's a structurally, I think it's a lot easier.
It is.
To come up with. I just find myself like, if I'm writing a song, it just ends up being a folk punk song because it's so easy to write. I just play with like basic chord progressions, throw in something different, like one part, and that's a song. And all the lyrics that I'm not a political person, so it's not like I'm trying to be witty the whole time. It's all just straight up.
I like that too, by the way. That punk, especially folk punk and DIY punk, has gotten a lot more introspective in that, and I think that comes from people you would even mention. You still listen to Screamo and emo. That I think people have, like punk rock kids have opened their minds a little, or people who like punk rock have also gotten into a lot of other genres. What's up?
Nothing. I was talking to the dishwasher.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So like, I don't know. I think that's really cool that it's gotten a lot more introspective. And even though I've always had strong political beliefs, I never wanted to write political stuff. Like, and so it's like, that's probably why I didn't start writing. Part of the reason I picked up playing, like doing solo, like folk punk or whatever you want to call it, records was that I had these songs and I never thought they'd fit anywhere, but then I started listening to a lot more folk punk, a lot from the subreddit, and was like, wait a minute, people are actually talking about their thoughts and feelings and life experiences. Like, this is a very different. Well, also, there's a band called Modern Baseball, which I know, I guess, is kind of popular in that they're huge in pop punk circles. That's how I found out about them. Like, they are huge amongst pop punk kids, and I listened to their record Sports. They're actually from Frederick, Maryland, which is a place I used to go to see shows at all the time. And they like their record Sports. They lyrically they just said things, like blunt things. They're like, no, here's what happened. They didn't disguise it in metaphor or poetry. They're like, here's my thoughts, here are my feelings, and here they are, which was something I hadn't really heard someone, I don't know, it was very interesting, and so that gave me the confidence to go, oh, I can just start making music like this.
Well, that's a lot like this band I listened to, Empire, I Was a Lonely Estate, and they're an emo band from Michigan or something, and his lyrical style is he just writes experiences, like, as if it were a diary entry, and he sings them, nothing rhymes, it's all straightforward, it doesn't even really show any of his emotions, but the way he writes it, you can just draw so much from it.
Yeah.
Way more meaningful than you know, oh, I'm sad all the time, which I don't have a problem with either. A lot of music is like that, and it's great music. But I think lyrics also add a lot more than I've ever really like given thought to.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just like people can be great lyricists and decent musicians, and it can still be one of my favorite albums.
I love that take on. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's another thing that I personally have been just from the. If we're looking at it from like if we can talk some shop a little bit. I've always wrote songs for all my bands, but they were like I would write them part by part. I'd record like demos. I would like carefully craft what I wanted to write. But for all this, I'll just sit there, sometimes with a drink, sometimes not, and I'll just start playing guitar. And what if something cool happens? Then I build on it and build on it and build on it. All the lyrics I write are all end up basically being freestyled, but I might like record them into a thing and be like, well, that one, like later on, be like, well, that sucked. I'll cut that, or that could use some changes. But it's all just so much more natural now. And every song that I've written has just been like, it all just came out, basically. Came out and then was revised, as opposed to all of the thought that would go into it and all of the tracking and planning. How do you guys write? Do you write in parts, or do you write just like, or do you just let it flow, kind of?
Well, I have another band, other than the two I'm in, Byrdman and Mingmingku.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been kind of stuck on what genre to call it, because when people ask me, it's kind of difficult to describe. It's a band that I made a while ago. It started out as kind of like we were talking about earlier. It was kind of just like a lo-fi kind of just like a very strange thing.
It was really dark.
Yeah, a really dark project inspired by teen suicide a lot. And then I started listening to a lot of like scrams and screamo bands, and I wanted it to be something really dramatic. Like I wanted to do something really dramatic, because I would always listen to bands that were really dramatic, and it would always just like hit you really hard. So I wanted to like make something of my own that was really dramatic. So I made this band, and it's kind of like it's like a post-metal band. It's kind of like it's like a screamo band, and pretty much what I would do is I would write a guitar part, and then over it I would just go back on my drums and play some blast beats over it. And then, with the vocals, I would pretty much find something that was really emotional to me, and then just start screaming about it. And then I wouldn't write anything down. It would just be me just yelling about something very emotional. So that's one strategy I've used for like that band, to write some lyrics.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
how about you? Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Well, it's actually very different for every band I'm in. So I'm gonna stick to 3 because I'm in like 1,000.
This is like punk is the new jazz. Like that's just.
That's a good way to put it. So for Byrdman, I write all my lyrics down. I like for Byrdman, I like it to sound more like music and more like catchy.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a pop punk band. I mean, it's not even really straight pop punk, but I definitely like to have it so that it's. I don't know. I think that for Byrdman, when I write the music, I just try a lot harder. Like I try really hard in production. I try really hard when I write lyrics. But I always like to stick to the honest part. So I write guitar line first. We record the song, and then I write lyrics while I'm listening to it. And that's how I come up with that. For my solo stuff, I have a solo project. It's just my name. It's like all this stuff. It's super lo-fi, but I never write any lyrics down. But it's not like I'm like telling anything too emotional. A lot of times it's just rambling about stupid things. It's a lot. The lyrics are kind of like how Neutral Milk Hotel would just they would just ramble and nothing about anything. Just stuff like that, because it's not too serious of a project. It's more for fun. And then the last band I'm in is kind of like a post-hardcore. It's screamo. It's a band called Honest, and for that I basically write down what I'm thinking. Just create stories, and it's spoken word parts and then scream parts. So a lot of that is just from because with that I guess me and Nick write them together. The music at least, not the lyrics.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's interesting how you have different styles for each project. I definitely relate to that. Well, what about David? What about you? What's your writing process like?
I write just like you do. I get a couple drinks and I sit down with my guitar and it comes out.
Yep.
I don't really know how to play guitar very well. I'm not very good at writing lyrics and I can't sing. So whatever happens, happens. It's even funnier though when we go record. We don't even practice. We never had a band practice really. We just meet up in the studio. I show everybody the songs. Andrew, we don't even play drums live. You probably only heard our recorded stuff, but like our live show is completely and totally different. It's like a whole different band. We go and record. They have no idea what the songs are. I'm like, this is how it goes.
And they play along.
And then we just kind of throw it together.
That's
obvious, I guess that's why they all
that is really cool because that's definitely. I mean, you're kind of confirming my point that punk is the new jazz. Like that's exactly how a lot of those old straight ahead jazz records were recorded. Here's the head. Here's what it sounds like. You guys, I pay you to do what you do. You do it, and that's it. That's really cool. That's a well, I know that one thing that I've been really feeling free to do now that I've been doing a lot of like folk punk stuff. Like on this record that I'm getting mixes back one at a time. Because I actually had somebody mix them because I just can't. I'd rather, I don't have time because I have an infant. So I was like, you can just mix these, please, and that'll be great. But like, so I'm getting them back one at a time, and these songs are like, I felt very comfortable playing around with structure and just going, you know what? It's okay if a song starts with whatever part I decided to start it with, and it just builds and builds and builds, dips or whatever, and I don't repeat anything. And to me, I'm like, that's okay. I don't need any refrains. I can just have it be what it is. And like I used to feel pressure to have, structured songs, or I used to feel pressure to be like, well, the song needs to be 3 minutes or whatever it is. But now I'm like, you know what? If the song naturally ends after a minute and a half, it fucking ends after a minute and a half. And if it ends after 5 minutes, it ends after 5 minutes. And just that freedom to just be like, it also, I don't know, it feels like it lends a certain authenticity and honesty to it that like you really are just letting the truth or whatever your truth is just kind of come out musically and lyrically.
Yeah. Mine it's kind of like that. I mean, I have choruses now, but I used to just write words. There was no chorus, nothing repeated. All the songs were like 45 seconds long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
I know. One thing that I've loved doing, and I believe, Jack, I've seen you do this too on YouTube, I love taking songs that are not punk at all and then doing like just a yelling punkish whatever cover of that song. And I could not like I have a bunch of those that I just recorded, and I'm so excited to actually like, well, first off, get the mixes back and hear them. But man, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's like I've just started to get really obsessed with finding covers of songs that like that I just loved, but always felt like, you know what would have been great here? Someone who can't sing yelling, and then just do that. And I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think about doing covers and stuff?
My band, we do. You guys can go ahead.
No, you can go first.
All right. Well, we've covered a bunch of songs like that. Just like right now, we're playing "White Lightning" by George Jones. We've played the Spice Girl, one of the Spice Girl songs, a Blues Clues song. It's a whole bunch of really ridiculous songs that a folk punk band or even a punk band would pretty much never think of playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love doing what we do. I mean, the covers that we've done were not necessarily like pop songs or anything that wasn't punk. They were technically punk songs, but we like to kind of retake them.
We do like indie, so like we do like a Great Big Pile of Leaves.
Yeah, we play Great Big Pile of Leaves a lot, which is just straight indie music. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say I like the covers. I believe there were 2 on your new record.
Yeah. Lucky Strike is kind of a good example because that song is fully acoustic and like the original and like not really that beat, and we added drums and electric guitars and trumpets and a bunch of crazy stuff. I really love covering music. Every show we try to cover at least like 2 or 3 songs.
Oh, that's awesome. And with folk punk, you can actually, especially if it's a stripped down version, you can get away with just doing whatever, recording and writing whatever covers you want. Like
Yeah.
as opposed to like other bands who, if you expect complete precision, you can really only learn a handful of covers every month or so, because you're not just going to learn the songs to play them like as good as the CD. But if you're doing this, you can just fucking bang it out and everybody has a good time.
That's my pet peeve, is whenever we're covering songs and people will be like, oh, but this isn't exactly how it goes, or this isn't the right key, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick. I just play. I'm like, this is what sounds good. It's still the same song.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. No, I just recorded a cover of Modest Mouse's Third Planet, which is like a straight up like slow, sad indie song. And I rewrote parts of it. I even like messed around with, which I know is blasphemy. I even messed around a little bit with structure and stuff, just to make it so that like if I were hearing it as an acoustic punk song, like this is how it would sound. Because the songs, you know, songs don't necessarily transfer directly, so you got to take your liberties to make it sound good. Like right now, like last night, I started working on, like, this is way out there for me. I started working on a Bo Burnham song. Do you know who that is?
Oh my God, I love Bo Burnham.
So I'm making. I wish I could do one of his funnier rap ones, but I'm just doing his song "Art Is Dead," and I transferred it to.
I learned "Art Is Dead."
Oh, nice! Yeah, the chord progression is like perfect.
At a solo show.
Wait, sorry, say it again.
I played that live at a solo show once.
Oh, that's awesome, dude! That's so cool. Yeah. No, I love, dude. The other thing I love doing about doing like yelling vocals or more melodic screaming vocals is that when you're covering something, your range is I mean, maybe I might just be speaking for myself, but my range is completely different when I'm singing versus when I'm yelling, and I can hit notes that I've never hit before, and also not hit notes that I can normally hit. So whenever I'm covering something, I can play with the melodies out of necessity. Kind of like what David was saying, like I record in the basement because that's what I got. That's those are the notes that I can hit, and if that makes the song my own or more my own, then that's awesome. Do you guys actually? It's so funny. I listen to Byrdman a lot. Do you guys do? There's a lot more melody in your stuff than typical bands that yell or whatever you want to call that kind of vocals.
Yeah.
Oh, so Nick, do you do vocals in Mingmingku?
Yes. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I don't remember song titles. What was the first one you guys put out?
Curb Spot.
Curb Spot, that's right. And two-parter. One, what does Curb Spot mean? And two, not a question, awesome job. That song is great, and that vocal melody is so good. That verse vocal melody, I will straight up listen to that part over and over again before I actually listen to the whole song through.
Well, the title of that song, I got it from pretty much me, and I have this good friend, and we would always hang out. Like I wrote that song about this one winter, me and my friend pretty much going to curbs and smoking weed, and
get your curb spat.
Yeah, and then I about all of that going away, and then so in the beginning it's kind of about being in that moment, and then it going away and being out of that, and then
that makes sense. I feel like just like a lot of Waves songs. By the way, if you haven't heard the record from Waves, King of the Beach, that's the one to listen to, I think. But like there are a few Waves songs that do this. Like I feel every time I listen to that song, Curb Spot, I feel like I get contact high. So that makes perfect sense. Like that is absolutely spot on. Holy shit! Like that. Oh my god. Oh, that's cool. All right, sweet. So I'm fine talking to you guys some more, but I'm out of topics and questions. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about in particular while you have this forum? Not that you couldn't talk about it literally anywhere else.
Can I promote a couple things?
Yeah, promote. Absolutely. I always leave spots for plugs at the end, but yeah, shoot.
So there's a lot going on right now. Go listen to Escape Humanity by Byrdman. That just came out. That's a big one. Record. I'm starting like a DIY internet-based record label called Hopscotch Inferno Records, and I would love to release any DIY music that anyone may have. So you can find me on Facebook. My name is Jack David. And you can message the page. We have a Facebook page. What else?
Byrdman with a Y.
Yes, Byrdman with a Y, by the way. Not the rapper.
Forgot about Byrdman.
Yeah. What else? Honest is starting work on a new full-length. I can see in your eyes. Nick doesn't know this at all, but
Awesome.
we are.
Just hearing about it.
What else?
It sounds really cool.
Popular and Broken is another band I'm in, and we're releasing something very soon, I hope. And I'm really proud of that album.
Oh yeah. Well,
What were you gonna say?
if you want, yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that the post-metal band, I Swear We're Dying, that I was in, I was talking about how all the lyrics were freestyled. I'm working on the new album Autophobia, so that will be on my Bandcamp. It's iswearwe'redying.bandcamp.com. If you want to check it out when it drops, that would be much appreciated.
That's all the plugs. I mean, I can stay on if you want, but
Wait, David died. Well, probably not died, but dipped out. Well, I'll do David's plugs. No, yeah, I'll do David's plugs and then we'll wrap up. Give him a few minutes to get back on if he wants. So you can find David's stuff at I think I found all his stuff on SoundCloud, but I'm sure he also has a Bandcamp. Just look up Gnarly Whales, which that's a band name I love. I fucking love that band name. But yeah, so that's really cool that you guys came on this. I appreciate it. I'm still shocked that you're so young. That's really cool. You guys sound very good heads on your shoulders.
I appreciate that.
No, but I mean, like, just because the way you guys were talking about everything, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I talk to people my age, older than me, younger than me, and you can tell when somebody feels like, I don't know. You can tell when somebody is a peer, is on your level, or is not. Like they're just not getting whatever. Yeah. And the whole time talking to you guys felt perfectly comfortable, which is, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's rare that you have such an age difference and it just would flow so naturally and you're on the same page. So that's really cool. Unless I have terrible taste in human beings, in which case, sorry. But no, but that's really cool. And the fact that you guys are so focused on creating art, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. I always fell in the trap of just doing one band at a time and focusing earlier years on, promoting and figuring out like how to get music out there than actually, making music. And especially today when there's such readily available audio equipment and places to put it like Bandcamp and YouTube, that there's really no reason not to just be continually creating music more and more and more. And that sounds like you guys are definitely doing that, which is really awesome. Are you going to put on your online label? Are you going to put all of the bands? Are you going to put all the bands that you're in on that label, so they'll be in one easy to find spot? Did I lose you guys too? Am I talking to myself again? It's funny, I may be talking to myself again. Let's check. Well, I am talking to myself once again. I'm texting them now. Everyone left me. As it should. All right, well, I wanted to do, it's okay. Wrapping up. Anyway. So I wanted to do a podcast on folk punk bands. Before we even started, somebody dropped off. Yeah, that's funny. So somebody dropped off. We had technical difficulties on all ends, more than I've ever had on most podcasts that I've done since the first 10 episodes when I really couldn't figure my shit out. We had a lot of confusing and awkward talks, and at the very end, everybody kind of dropped off because computers crashed and internet was lost. And yeah, so I will catch you guys later. See ya.